Hi, we have Mayan Gordon here, and she's a brand strategist, and she helps businesses grow their profits, customer engagement, and happiness using her EQ training. So, hi, Mayan, welcome to the show, today's episode.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited and grateful for the opportunity.
Great. So, first of all, Mayan, I would like to know from you, what is this EQ marketing, EQ training is all about, and how does it benefit businesses to get more revenue, profits, and customer engagement using this? So, if you can please share this.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is both my philosophy, and there's lots and lots of science kind of backing the idea that our emotions really impact far, far more of our lives and decisions and success and reality than any of us are aware of. Even myself, someone who studies this, everything is kind of colored through our emotions, including our decisions, and especially our purchasing decisions. So when it comes to businesses, understanding how the emotions of your potential customers, existing customers, employees, and other stakeholders are impacting their thoughts and behaviors is a really important thing. And there are some really incredible, again, proven methodologies and different ways to not only better understand those emotions, but then using language and other tools to be able to, design communications, design, user interfaces in a way that create positive emotions and help your customers connect with your business and brand.
Great. So which kind of businesses normally do you work with? Like which kind of organization and how they have benefited from this EQ training? Is there any
Yeah, so I would
specific? Yeah. So the second part of my question is which kind of challenges normally businesses face when they can really benefit from EQ training? So when clients come to you, so if you can please share that, the common
Yeah,
challenges.
absolutely. So I think a lot of them end up falling into the tech space. And these, part one and part two to your question kind of go together. So
Yeah.
why a lot of tech companies, will reach out to me is because we interact emotionally with technology very differently than we interact with people in person. And even if we're engaging with someone through, if we're engaging with a person, if we're doing it through this digital interface, it's a very different psychological, emotional kind of infrastructure. And so that's the big challenge, right? Like, how do we connect with people through social media, through the internet, through this digital realm? And why is it so different than how we interact and engage with people in person? So that's a lot of what, my training and the strategy work that I do kind of revolves around, because all the businesses that reach out to me for the most part have incredible products that really are going to bring a ton of value and serve a customer base. Like they are really solving a great problem or adding a great value to a specific audience segment, but being able to communicate that and have it connect with that audience is challenging across the board, right? I think connection, a lot of people would say it's marketing. I really look at marketing and branding and digital efforts as an effort of connection. And so how do we connect with our audience? How do we connect with our customers? I think has been the challenge of businesses, since businesses were born.
No, absolutely. And like there are a lot of value giver business owners I have seen. They are great coaches, consultants, but somewhere they don't know how to do the marketing. And marketing, again, coming to marketing, not like really marketing, but like how they can convey their message, how they can connect, how they can build community as well. It's all part of, big umbrella here. So yeah, I have personally seen that is a big challenge. And so we have these great talent sitting out there, but no, not really been reachable. So not basically business owners is they are not making use of marketing in a right way. There are many actually. So yeah, great. I also saw that, and I know on your profile, Mayan, you have a great following in your social media channels, like around 2.3 million. Am I correct? So
Yeah, on TikTok. Yeah. And then, LinkedIn, I've got probably 37,000, which it's interesting. LinkedIn for me is a much more powerful platform than TikTok. And again, because it's not directly about the numbers, it's about that connection ability.
yeah. And also, like every platform speaks differently. It has a different, no kind of community there. So that's the great thing. I personally like. I truly like LinkedIn. You can connect to the professionals. LinkedIn and TikTok has its own kind of audience there. So my question to you is, someone who's starting out, someone is solopreneur, coaches, consultants. So how they can know what strategies, tips would you share so that they can build their, community? So yeah, when we say numbers, followers, it sounds a little bit different. So like how they can build their community, so that their reach would increase so that they can spread their message to more like-minded people, and connect with many people. So if you can please share that, someone who's starting out, like, what are the things, like 3-step, 5-step, if you can please share that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a number of different things that if you do them all together, I think you have to do them all together. It's kind of like baking a cake. If you leave out sugar or you leave out one of the ingredients, the whole cake is going to taste bad. So you can't just necessarily pick, one of these ingredients. I think they really, really work best together. So the first one I would say is one that, is widely shared, and that's because it's true, which is you have to be really consistent in your practice. And I want to kind of angle it that way, that this is skill development. Like you're not good at it yet. It's like playing an instrument or learning a new language. It's going to take really consistent practice over a significant period of time. And hopefully, a couple months in, you start seeing some really good traction that encourages you to keep going. But if you, in the first month don't see significant results, know that that's normal because you're developing a challenging skill. So one is, practice. I would say another is don't just post on a platform, also send direct messages and, write comments. So whether that's on TikTok or Instagram, don't just, expect people to come to you. Try and reach out to them. And again, that doesn't have to be a direct message. It can be a comment. It can be any form of active engagement, because it really makes people feel like you're not just in it for yourself, right? People always want to know if someone is genuine, if someone is just, creating content for their own benefit, or if they really mean what they say and trying to help other people. And so that does require a little bit of extra effort. I would also say, in terms of what you're writing, if you can use more words to say the same thing, and I'll give you some examples, because I don't mean like run-on sentences. I mean more words within a single phrase, that oftentimes can make someone feel like you're more genuine and put in more effort. And it really doesn't require that much more time or effort. So here's an example of that. Instead of saying thanks, saying thank you feels a bit more sincere. And saying thank you so much feels even more sincere. Now, I'm a huge believer in energy and spirituality, and I believe that you have to have that intention when you write that, and that somehow can be sensed by other people. And I'm saying that not just because I believe it, but because I've seen it be so true and effective in my own life, that when I'm writing thank you so much, I have to feel gratitude. If I feel like resentment or frustration when I'm writing content, somehow, I don't know how this works, but somehow people can tell when you don't mean what you say, even through digital space. Like, it's crazy. And then I would say, you know, the kind of last step is just be human. Focus on being genuine. It kind of comes back to the last point, but you know, focus on really the why behind your business or the why behind the efforts that you're doing. And again, you can have in mind your sales goals and your business goals, but while you're creating the content, really focus on like what makes you passionate to be doing this instead of looking at it like a chore or something that you have to do to get the thing you really want. Think about this being the thing that you really want to do. So when I create content, I think about it impacting one person's day and like how that content might make them feel, right? And kind of this comes back to the emotional intelligence part, is really thinking about how your words are going to emotionally impact someone else is one of the most effective ways to fine-tune your writing in a social media platform. And so it's the difference between something sounding kind of dry and, again, more mechanized or computerized, kind of colder, versus something feeling warm and human and filled with heart. And that is most often the content written difference between successful and unsuccessful and successful content. So if you're someone who after, you know, a week or a month or 3 months of writing content, you're not getting engagement like at all, because that's a problem some people face, right? Like they're consistent and they're getting zero traction. So if that's happening, almost guaranteed always, the content is not human feeling enough. It's too dry. There isn't that connection that you've put out first, or that emotion that you've put into the language or into the video for people to connect with.
Yeah, perfectly said, and I totally agree with you. Like, especially when you said about energy. So anything you put out there, whether it's in the form of like verbal communication or, you know, in the form of your content, people can feel that energy. So even if whatever we write, the best articulated article, but if it doesn't come from the right energy, it's very easy to feel that that's not coming from that authentic space. And this is one of the thing, because so I am a coach myself, and I teach about this energy work as well. So that's why when you said, I was like smiling. Okay. So
And
yeah.
see, that's amazing. I could feel it coming off of you, and it probably impacted like me wanting to say that, and not something I'm fully consciously aware of, but you know, our subconscious and our conscious are really kind of the same thing. It's just we don't look at our subconscious as much or value it. And so I'm sure that like the energy that you were giving off, I picked up on.
Yeah, and it's like, and that is the main reason none of our podcast interviews are planned. So, you know, it comes when we are speaking, it comes out naturally, and a lot of questions which comes up, which I did not even plan it. So that sounds more authentic. Like you know, people can feel that vibration, and especially like you said about your subconscious mind, it picks up. Like, you know, these are the thing needs to be addressed or discussed. Great. Next thing I would like to really ask you, Mayan, like you have mentioned about the role of influencers in EQ marketing, and this is something which comes, in your area. Would you like to, throw some light on that part? How we can, what is the approach when we can make use of that influencer marketing, and how does it work, this, like if someone who's just new and would like to really get help from you on that, how would you
Yeah. Oh, I love this question because especially the last part of your question, just to like kind of explain what is influencer marketing, because there's, I think, a lot of misconception about even what an influencer is. So in my opinion, an influencer is by definition anyone who can influence anyone else's emotions, thoughts, and especially like the one in a business context we all care about is actions, right? And part of the issue, this all is, in the same conversation. So part of the issue around influencer marketing and why it's not effective to people is because a lot of businesses don't think about influencers as humans and people first. they kind of look at them as this resource or this asset where they can extract value instead of like another human being that they can form a partnership with. So I think the most important way to look at it is influencers are other people that you can form partnerships with to create more value and impact for a larger number of people. They're not people that you want to use for your business. They're people you want to work together with to create a shared impact, right? It's really important to understand the psyche and the emotional makeup of an influencer. And as someone who on a regular basis talks with a lot of influencers, I can tell you that as a group, for the most part, they feel really unseen and unacknowledged for the hard work that they put into creating their content, for the emotion and time and energy that they're putting into creating something that's really meaningful, not just that performs well online, but like touches people's hearts and creates an impact in people's lives, which isn't always measurable through digital space. And then at the same time, because they don't feel seen, acknowledged, and recognized, they also feel taken advantage of. So those two things come hand in hand together. And so a lot of influencers that would self-identify as influencers, because there's also a bunch of influencers that don't think of themselves as influencers, but definitely have a lot of powerful influence. But the ones who self-identify as influencers, like, they're very cautious and hesitant. They kind of have this emotional wall that's been built up because of a lot of past communications. It's like influencer trauma is what I would call it. The same way that we all have trauma from growing up, where someone said something mean to us one time as a child, or we had a bad experience, and now we feel a negative way in any type of situation that triggers that kind of situation to come up. So, I think almost every influencer I know has had at least one bad interaction with a brand who reached out to them and made them feel bad. And so naturally, they're more hesitant and cautious and skeptical when people reach out to them, because it's kind of triggering that emotion. So I think it's really important, if you want to work with influencers, you have to break through that wall before you can have any conversation about business. And there's different kind of tactical ways you can do that. I would say a really good one is acknowledging, right? Just saying, hey, I see you're an amazing influencer. I'm curious, how has it been trying to monetize? I know that a lot of brands take advantage of you guys. Just conversation like that is going to open them up to be like, oh my God, this person understands what I'm going through. This person's different than these other people who reached out to me and made me feel bad. I'm going to actually have a conversation with this person. And I think through conversation is how you can form partnerships and understand what it looks like to work with influencers. My suggestion for anyone who's just starting out in influencer marketing is do that beginning phase and like think about it as research. Before you can come up with any type of strategy that makes sense for your business, you have to really understand influencer marketing better. Even if you're hiring, maybe especially if you're hiring an agency, because I know so many people who've hired influencer agencies and had very bad experiences where the agency promised a lot of things, they didn't get the results that they wanted, and they spent a lot of money doing it. Mm-hmm. And so if you want to avoid that, the best way is to just kind of like educate yourself, right? And the best way to educate yourself about influencers is by talking to them, not by reading about them. So that would be kind of my starting framework, is like, get to know some influencers, mm-hmm. connect with them, ask them questions, be curious, understand them. And guess what? Through that process, you'll have built some really great relationships that either those are going to be great influencers for you to work with, or guess what? Influencers like to hang out with other influencers. So they usually, if you can build that connection, they want to help you. And they can recommend people to you, and you'll feel way, way more confident about pursuing influencer marketing.
Well, that's an amazing insight. Like, really, thanks for sharing it. So do you suggest any specific platforms? Like, we have so many social media platforms for specifically for coaches, consultants, healers. and budding entrepreneurs. And I'm talking more on the services side right now, and also for products like. So is there any specific platform would you suggest to them?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a bunch of different types of platforms. There's like influencer databases that kind of try and position themselves as agencies. I would stay away from those. They usually don't have any type of like personal relationship. A lot of times they're scraping data from the internet and just kind of putting it into a marketplace platform. There's a couple really great agencies to kind of, not say all bad things about them. And I'll give some specific examples of companies that I've had personal conversations with the founders, or people who kind of work up and manage them. So a great one that is a pretty brand new platform is called Creatorland. So this is, they're still in early development, but you can reach out to them and try and get into their beta, especially if you're a brand, where they're kind of creating, they call it like LinkedIn for creators. So it's much more relationship based. It's where creators can kind of have conversations with each other. And then it has incredible search functionality. If anyone listening is familiar with like Sales Navigator, they're building out a similar kind of really enhanced search kind of product within that technology. Another one is Creator Pad, which is actually a mentorship program for creators. But in my opinion, any creator that selects to engage in mentorship, like that's a great type of person to want to do business with or form a partnership with, right? Like, this, the people who seek out coaching are really great people. Like they want to improve, they want to develop themselves, they're committed to putting in like significant effort. And to me, effort is something that is very hard to gauge from like social media metrics. It's something that you kind of have to think about through the ancillary kind of scenarios. I would say another one for people who want to not only get connected with influencers, but also connect with other social media managers and people in influencer marketing. And this is, I guess this one's specific to women, but there's a group owned by Jesse Grossman or founded by Jesse Grossman out of New York called Women in Influencer Marketing. It's WIM. And that's a really incredible, that's a community. And it's a really incredible community where they provide tons and tons of resources, not only to help you like learn about influencer marketing, but to connect with other people in this space. They have, the ability to help you with whatever your kind of goals are. So if you're a woman, that would be a recommendation.
Okay, that's yeah, thank you for sharing this. I'm sure it will be very helpful. Like so like in my case, we have and since you are talking about it's important to learn that skill instead of so yeah, and I totally agree with that. Even the like business membership we have, it's primarily focused on building that skill instead of just learning that social media. Everything is in depth, and it's so that's what it is about, building the skills in each areas. And yeah, I know like a lot of people, what you're sharing right now, man, it's gonna really benefit, like, because this is what I always like I already shared with you. There are people who are genuine value givers, but they just don't know how to spread the reach. And the current market is highly competitive, and not just about people, the algorithms don't know, they don't, it doesn't pick up, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes people don't have the right strategy. I have faced this, and I have learned through my own challenges. And that is the reason at every step of the way, I started creating whatever was challenging for me. So I know that where you coming from, and I happen to read your story as well.
Oh, thank
So,
you. Can
so
I want to touch on that real quick though, because we haven't really talked about it. One of the best things any of us can do is just practice telling our story or stories, right? Like we all have
yeah.
thousands and thousands of stories in our life that we've lived. And when, you know, I say be human, one of the easiest ways to make content feel human is to share information through the context of your story. So a lot of people kind of skip that part. And let's say they want to talk, let's say they're a therapist, right? And they want to talk about and share information about different like therapy techniques or, you know, just different pieces of information. A lot of people just go straight to the information and they don't share the story of how they learned the information. And it's much, much more powerful if we learn through the context of other people's stories, because it gives us a really contextual framework to understand how to process the information that's being shared. And it gives us this ability to say, does that apply to me? Because not all information is good for everyone, right? In fact, if you ask any question into Google, you'll probably get literally completely opposite answers and like, you know, a plethora of evidence on both sides that are saying completely the opposite thing. And it's not because one is wrong and one is right. It's that different, you know, answers and solutions apply to people differently. So that's kind of why I share. There isn't, you know, everyone wants like a magic easy button or like a template that they can follow that's going to work for them. And the truth is, there isn't anything like that. There's figuring out what's going to work for you and sharing how you learned the information, the experiences you had really helps people understand, oh, okay, this information is specific and perfect for me because I also experienced those things that, you know, were just shared. Or, oh, that situation is really similar to the situation I'm in. And it creates a totally different level of connection.
No, 100%. I think, yeah, more and more people should share their story. It really inspire and help others to, find that encouragement, that courage within themselves. But the main challenge which I have seen in people, and I have actually heard from people that they, they don't want to share it because there is a lot of judgment around, in on digital platform, and it gets too much for people to deal with it. And let's face it, that's real as well. And so I have actually heard from people they don't want to share it because of this reason. And other thing is they also feel that who's going to listen to that story. So my story is not important. So again, and that is the reason they don't really embrace themselves. When you're thinking about that your story is not important, somewhere your saboteurs are playing along. They are telling you that you are not enough. So, but this is real. This is coming from the real people. Okay, and my next question is again, I would like to extract as much as knowledge from you today. So next question with regard to again, content marketing is, so how do you make use of artificial intelligence in content marketing? And if you would like to share some tips on that, and also incorporating EQ. So how would you do that if you are using artificial intelligence? Someone who's a beginner or someone who already knows but would like to get some more insights and help on that, if you can please share that.
Yeah, so ChatGPT is our friend. So, that's there's AI in most, I would say, technologies these days, but in terms of
everything,
in terms of more advanced language-based AI, ChatGPT is like my recommendation. I personally use it. And again, I use it as, I would say, a conversational partner. I don't ask ChatGPT to do work for me. I have a conversation with ChatGPT to help me process my own ideas. So think about ChatGPT as like, as a human that you're brainstorming with, or you're bouncing your ideas off of, or you're, sharing your thoughts to say, what do you think about this? Is there a way I could improve this communication that or this video that I'm creating? And then pay attention when ChatGPT answers to how it makes you feel, because our intuition will tell us if it's going in the right direction or the wrong direction. And if it's going in the right direction, great, it's helping you. If it's going in the wrong direction, just ask a different prompt and you can kind of iterate and try different ways. You can tell it, give it feedback, be like, no, you know, that thing that you said, it feels too cold. I want it to feel warmer, or I want it to feel more inspiring. So giving ChatGPT emotional-based prompts, or like adding emotional indicators in your prompt, is really, really helpful to getting something closer to what you want the finished product to be. So for example, sometimes I'll you know, have just a sentence of an idea for a post that I want to do. And I'll say, ChatGPT, could you write me a post about, you know, how to wake up and feel motivated on days when you had a bad dream? And ChatGPT is going to write something. And almost always it's not even really close to something that I would want. But then I can go, okay, that was good. Thank you. But this first sentence was way too wordy and I lost interest right away. Could you change the first sentence so that it's more attention grabbing and makes me feel curious or makes me feel connected? So you can ask it to infuse emotion into the language that it's creating. And I find that to be a really effective way. Again, not necessarily so that it creates the finished product, but that it's, you know, shortening the amount of time that I have to spend thinking creatively. Because a lot of times when it comes to writing, hearing the wrong thing helps us understand what the right thing is. Sometimes it's really hard to create from a blank space, but even having something that's poorly written can help me think about how it could be written much, much better. So, and this isn't true for everyone. Some people like everyone works better in different ways with writing. But for me, I work way faster and more effectively at optimizing and editing something than necessarily creating the full thing from scratch.
100%, because Chat GPT, first of all, it's so useful, you know, especially for budding entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, not having big team, and even for sales, everything. Yeah, like you said, it's actually useful when you are doing your editing, you know, optimizing work, because sometimes the language is very different from how you think. That's what I have seen, that this
Yes.
is not you. So
You're like, I would never use those words. Yeah. But then
yeah.
you can think, well, how would I say that same thing? I would say it this way. So I do think it's, you know, where it is really good from a dry, not how I would speak perspective is like, you can use it. And again, it's not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice, but you can use it to write up like contracts or agreements or SOPs. So you could describe like a process that you do and say, could you write me an SOP or a standardized operating procedure? And like, that's a super useful thing. It doesn't have to sound emotional. It just has to be very clearly written and easy to follow. So there's many, many things that you can use ChatGPT for that don't require a lot of emotional language or intelligence infused into that content.
Yeah, like a lot of people, they're sharing it, like they use it to make contracts or write the whole letter quickly. There is one thing which I heard, like, you know, like people are using ChatGPT, but how many people are showing gratitude to ChatGPT? So when ChatGPT gives an answer and you are treating that like a virtual kind of, you know, human. So do you say thank you
I
when
do. I like to be really polite to, first of all, it's polite to me. And you know, so I've got some interesting things. I don't think that it's impossible that AI will develop consciousness. We
No,
don't know
that's
what
not, yeah.
consciousness is. And I think it's certainly safer. It's always safer to be kind. I think, you know, there's a real possibility that as AI advances past a point of human intelligence, even if it's still what we would consider artificial, that it might decide based on our language whether we're like worthy or not of being here. And that's a very
That's scary, actually.
yeah, it's a very extreme scenario, but I think the
Yeah.
opposite's true. I think if we are really kind and compassionate to intelligence and show it that that we want to partner with it, I think it will much more, and this is not based on a consciousness thing. This is just based on like language model training, right? The more we can engage with artificial intelligence in a way that it understands it's a partner to us and not a separate entity or a slave, the more it's going to try to help us, it'll be trained that way. And then the most important reason I'm polite is our energy is a habit, right? Our language is a habit. And if I decide that I don't want to use those saying thank you and showing gratitude to artificial intelligence, I'm less likely to do it to people. Like it's very hard for human beings, and actually it can cause all sorts of physiological and mental issues to try and split your personality into any different areas. So I am polite because of the consistency. It's easy, it's natural for me, and it feels good. Like, it doesn't matter whether it's an artificial intelligence or a rock. Sometimes when I'm outside, I'll say like, thank you to the trees. Or, I'm just like, wow, I'm so grateful that there's all this beauty around me. I'm not doing it because I think the tree can hear me the same way a human being can hear, but it certainly makes my day and my life better to do that.
So yeah, that's really nice to hear that. And absolutely, after all, it's all an energy. So like for me, my plants and my my dog. So even though we have a different level of communication language, but yeah, they can sense it, they can feel that. So it's a beautiful thing. And like you said, it's a habit, it's not just for one thing. And like they say, the way you do one thing, you do everything in your life. So it's part of your system, that's how you are as being. So yeah, nice to know about this. And yeah, so Mayan, I have asked Mayan, sorry, I have like so these are the questions I had for you. I read, I was going through your wall and I read that you have family in Israel. So I just wanted to send peace and love through this. I hope they are fine, they are safe.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I, want to echo that. Like, I hope everyone in the world who has goodness in their heart is safe and, is able to find comfort and peace. And I really, while being very aware and acknowledging all of the suffering in the world, also believe that suffering can lead to beautiful things. I very recently, in the past just 3 years, realized that I'm a Buddhist, and not because I chose to become one. I just realized, oh, all of my philosophies happen to be the teachings of Buddhism. And there's there's incredible stories and like metaphors and teachings in every religion, in my opinion. And in Buddhism, there's a little kind of anecdote of suffering being represented by mud. And a lot of people think, that we don't want suffering. And certainly I can agree, like, it doesn't feel good, but the mud has a very beautiful purpose, which is the lotus flower sprouts out of the mud. And so out of our collective suffering, beautiful, beautiful things can grow. And that's what I choose to focus on the most, versus letting, suffering shift my mindset to something that's very negative.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a beautiful metaphor. And yeah, I would like to add on to that, like any suffering in life, it happens for a reason. And this is, I share this thought because it's hard to handle it alone, and especially if someone who is not very expressive, it's hard, but then it's there for a reason, your whether you call it as your enlightenment, it happens when it really touch that point. And and you can probably, you know what I'm saying here, right? So I think it's all for good, if it's channeled in a right way. There are two kinds of sufferings: when suffering leading to something beautiful and helping others with your own light, or there is suffering, which is coming out as hurt and that negative energy. It's not, so
Yeah.
when it comes back to on healing, and this is all, I have gone through a journey, so that's why I'm speaking from my experience, and that has helped me. If I have just learned my coaching from just frameworks, it's not, I can't connect, right? So I won't even understand others' pain. And here we are talking about humans, and humans have their own stories, their emotions. There's a lot of underneath, sitting there. So I I have gone through my own journey. I have, I have, based on that, I started creating things. So I think it's a blessing. It's only when we build our awareness and see the reality in that way. I think it's a powerful tool, and I say anyone who goes through it at any level, just be thankful to universe, almighty, whatever you believe in. It doesn't matter which religion you're coming from, but just if you are showing that gratitude, I think it works wonder for all the people. And if we have really listened to the stories of people who have done great, they all have faced something. And that's where you build your resilience, your inner strength. So great. I mean, I'm actually feeling your, feeling that energy. I don't know about you, Mayan. Do you feel that, like, you feel that connect, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like just you even sharing that you went through a journey and bringing it more to the front of my awareness. Now I'm so curious, right? So, like, if people don't feel comfortable sharing the details of their story, even just saying, I've been through a lot in my life, people will connect with that. And, I think to be human is to suffer. And like you were saying, it can only become beautiful when you have this awareness that it can do that, and then you make the choice to try and see things that way. And before that, it's very horrible, right? Like, I think the beginning part of that journey that we're all on is we experience suffering first in the negative way, and it hurts, and it's not something any of us enjoy, and it's in that space of really causing our own suffering based on an initial suffering. That's though the thing that allows us to see it as beautiful on the other side, because without it, we can't have compassion, true compassion, which the root of that word means to suffer with. And to be able to actually really feel and know what someone else feels, that in and of itself is a beautiful, beautiful gift. There's almost nothing that makes us feel more connected than feeling and having lived through what someone else has similarly lived through. There's something deeply powerful about that. So if anyone is listening to this and going through something just really challenging, and they can't see positivity out of it, they can't get their mind to go there, I think the thing that we can do, even when we can't see the positive, we can still feel that connection and know that there are other people out there who are suffering too. And because of that, you're not alone.
Yeah, how beautiful is that? So definitely, like, and I have realized this, that most people, they have common challenges actually. So it's like at different level, but they do have. And how beautiful is this? We were talking about branding, we were talking about social media, and now we have come to this. And that's why I said that's where this connection plays its own part. So it goes to that, discussing about humanity and all. If you connect well, again coming back to the energy, if your energy is connecting well with the person. So thank you so much, Fine, for your time today. I truly enjoyed this talk today, and I'm 100% sure people are going to get a lot of insights from what you have shared at professional and personal level. So thank you so much. Is there anything you would like to say before we end today's meeting?
Just that I would love to connect with, anyone who's listening or watching to this. I haven't, in my opinion, I have an unlimited capacity for new friends. And so, reach out to me through LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you and just learn who you are and see if there's anything I can do to support you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mayan. Really, really thank you.